Babies are great. Get a baby. Steal a baby. Go find yourself a baby. Make sure it's a cute one. Not all of them are cute, to be honest. I got a good one. Hey, welcome to episode 149. I'm Nick. I'm here with Paul.
Hello.
And Blake.
Hey.
149 of Front Seat Gamer. I should mention what this is. I usually do that. This time, I thought I'd skip past it.
What did you say? I didn't even.
I just
register.
said episode 149, and then I was like, I'm here with Paul and Blake.
People will be like, "What podcast?"
Yeah.
Though?
Yeah.
I feel like
I've got my podcast on shuffle. I have no idea which one this
Has
is.
anybody ever listened to a podcast by surprise? Like,
So Spotify does have that just your episodes thing that
Really?
will just have
Yeah.
podcasts in it. So you could totally go into something not knowing what.
oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Well,
and I'm
is-
sure, like,
welcome to This American Life. I'm your host, Ira Glass. How's it going, guys?
pretty good.
Good.
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Well, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a podcast about video games, and usually we spend like half the podcast not talking about video games. I thought
Yeah.
for a change, let's talk about video games straight up front.
Man, you're breaking the formula.
that hard-earned formula that
Yeah.
we've accidentally
We've
stumbled
crafted
into.
that over years of.
It really has been years.
Yeah.
149, and we
Yeah.
only do the episodes if we're lucky every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure this is episode 3.
I can see how you might see that. Yeah. I have some bad news for you. This is you were not
Middle of the season.
You're very much the Poochie of
No.
you're better liked than Poochie. So games. You guys been playing stuff?
Yeah.
Good. Blake?
I've not been. Man,
Yeah.
I've.
I wanted to make it known. Go ahead.
All right, so I guess we'll start with me because I've barely got anything to say. But I took a break from
Elden
Ring, and I started playing Stellaris a whole bunch again.
That game has changed. So I think we talked about this a little bit. That game has changed so much that I tried to play it again and couldn't.
Yeah, there's a lot. It hasn't changed too much since the last time I played.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all the city stuff is all the planet stuff is like completely different than it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Also, resources, even the core resources.
Oh
are
yeah,
completely
actually, yeah.
different.
There's different core resources. Like there's different resources now that you can like generate on a planet that are required
Yeah.
for like building ships and
Yes.
and things. Like
Yeah, it is fundamentally a different game.
it definitely has that that kind of resource. What would you call it? Like
Pipeline.
Yeah, resource pipeline thing that I like in those.
This
like,
becomes
kinda
A
games.
becomes B becomes C becomes D becomes E, and
And then you
get to
start running out of one thing, and you're like, okay, well, I need to like increase this resource as
Yeah.
well as like the resource I'm actually running out of, because
Yeah.
if I build more of the thing that makes this end resource, it's going to take away from the base resource,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
that base resource is used for like multiple things.
Yeah.
I
so
do really like that in games.
Yeah, it's great. Like you can, I do like how, you can just be like panic and go, oh, I'm running out of this resource. So you build a bunch of factories on planets that would make this resource, but then you tank another resource
Yep.
because of it, and then you get this like crazy cascade of like resource failures
Yeah.
across your whole empire, and you're like, oh my god, it's all falling apart.
I like that too, but I have two caveats. Here.
Yeah.
One is I like that too in a new system, not a system I had previously learned that
Yeah.
didn't have this.
Yeah,
And that's just me being a cantankerous old man.
yeah,
And then two, I like that in a system where the base resources have a use and the pipeline is introduced slowly. And for Stellaris, that pipeline is introduced like really rapidly.
yeah,
And it's like you need like a third tier resource to do anything, and you kind of
yeah. I know.
spend your first few minutes of the game just working out to get to
Yeah.
that third tier. And
I get it. Like that game, like that game, if you started playing that and never have played it like before,
Yeah.
if you were just like, I'm just gonna try it and buy it, and then buy all the DLCs with it,
Oh,
you know, so it's like, you know, $200 or something.
Yeah.
At this point, if you started playing that, it would be like mind-boggling. You'd open it up and you'd be like, you would spend like an hour with the whole game paused, just trying to figure out like what you actually needed to do.
and the tutorial
Yeah, that
is
sounds
woefully,
great.
it's woefully
Yeah.
short.
But that's also like Crusader Kings, because during the Christmas holidays, or actually during lockdown last year, towards the end of the year, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play, like, a new Crusader Kings came out, and I was like, I'm gonna actually like try to learn this game.
Yep.
You know, because it is this, like, to me it was like this just impenetrable Excel spreadsheet of a game.
Yep.
But like I was really wanting to get into it.
You wanted to get into it.
I wanted to get into it.
You want to be one of the cool kids
I
who
wanna be one of
loves
the-
Crusader Kings.
Yeah.
They hang out by the train station smoking, and you
Yeah,
want to be,
talking
talking
about King Louis the Fourth.
and I try to get those airs going.
Yeah. Oh man, it's all about the airs.
Yep.
All about those airs.
Yep.
But yeah, I did the same thing where the first 2, maybe even 3 hours was just figuring out how to play the game before I'd even like
Yep.
basically unpaused before I'd even started the game.
Yep.
You know, like I had to study for 3 hours
Yep.
to play this game,
Yeah. That
and it
doesn't-
was great.
And did you get to it at the point where you were enjoying it?
Yep. I wish we'd been able to talk about it like at the time, because I was so into it, and like I was so into like you know, spreading my house far and wide.
Is this a euphemism?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there was one generation I had where I just had so many granddaughters, and I just like
Real Walder
I just
Frey,
I
aren't
just
you?
scattershotted them
Oh, boy.
across all of Europe, marrying
Uh-huh.
the highest people I could find. I was like, no, because normally I'd be like, oh, really careful with like, who am I, you know, marrying people off to, because they form alliances and stuff like this. But I had so
Yeah.
many granddaughters in this generation. I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna shotgun
Yeah.
Europe with the granddaughters. And then, like, you know, I'd forgotten about it, and the generations had gone by, and like that original guy had died, and I'd gone on like several times.
Yep.
And then I looked at you can view the map in different I guess modes. So you can see like your empire, you can
Yep.
see like
like kind of filters.
yeah, filters,
Mhm.
and one of them is dynasty.
Mhm.
And so I switched it on that, and it's like, yeah, my empire is all like my dynasty. And then in Europe, there's like all these splotches of like my dynasty, and I'm like, whoa, where did these come from? And it
Ah.
was like the descendants of those like scattershot granddaughters had eventually come into ruling positions in all these different countries, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your seed is strong.
Yep. Yep. It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
So what you been playing?
I haven't been playing that. But that's a game I really want to get back to. It's like a game where for my biggest goal in that was to get an actual empire, because there are different stages of empire, I guess, where it's like you can start off as just a petty king, and then there's like a kingdom, and then there's like
Is a petty king one who's just like, yeah, I don't want to.
he's just real petty. He's just so petty. Just every
I'm going
little
to tax
thing.
them because I can.
Yeah. And then the one above that like rules several kingdoms is an emperor. And I was playing as these like Viking guys, and
AKA the Vikings.
their type, these Vikings,
Mhm.
and their type of what's it called when you pass the crown to someone? I can't remember what it's called.
Succession?
Succession.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their type of succession was basically you just divvy up the empire amongst all the heirs.
Okay.
And that's bad because you only play as one of those heirs. So you can get into a
Yeah.
point where, like, the first time this happened, suddenly my empire is like cut in half. And like my brother owns a new empire that is like his now, you know, he inherited it.
Yeah.
So it's like, shit, I got to go to war with them to get it back. So I had to keep doing this, and like, but if you can get to like a higher tier, so you can be an emperor, and then that means that
when it's divvied up,
when
you're
it's
still in control.
divvied up, you become emperor, and then it's divvied up. The kingdoms are divvied up below you, so you still
you're the boss of the kings.
Yeah. You're the boss of the kings. So I was aiming to get to that point so I could like not worry about succession anymore. Got to that point, and I was like, great. Now my next thing is like I need to upgrade my religion. I need to reform my religion so I can actually progress in technology, because I'm stuck in like this tribal period.
And your religion is holding you back?
My religion now is holding me back.
Wow.
Because I'm like, Viking religion, so it's all like Thor and stuff.
The
like,
Vikings were like technologically super advanced for their time.
Well, I've basically dominated a huge like England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales.
Yeah,
got all
classic
that.
Viking move.
Classic Viking move. I started off in Iceland, and then I've got like some parts of like Scandinavia as well, all under my empire. But I have to basically, I what I did was like I trained up my next heir to specifically be like a religious leader.
Okay.
Because I need tons of religious points. I need tons of religious points to be able to reform my religion.
Yeah.
And then I can finally like start progressing in technology again, because I can upgrade to like the medieval era or whatever. But it was like it was literally like a whole, like it's a generation. I'm planning this out a generation ahead, because I have an heir. I get an heir, and he's just born naturally good in like this thing that will boost religion. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to train him as a religious person. So I got like the priest of like the head priest to basically like,
you made him a cult leader.
To train him up and stuff. And now that he's king, he's got.
Imagine if actual world leaders were this forward looking. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no.
As opposed to
just
what we have.
Do whatever.
But you can only really have that if you've got it passing down to the succession
You know what's
thing.
sad is the closest thing we have to that is probably North Korea.
Yeah.
Not as panned
They're
out
doing great.
so well. So,
but yeah, I haven't.
But that's not even the game you were going to talk
That's
about.
not even the game I was
You've
talking
been
about.
playing
I haven't
Stellaris.
even played that game in like months. But I do want to get back to it, because that's where I left it off. Was
Okay.
like I've just become the religious king.
Yeah.
And so I'm like on my mission to reform my religion.
But Stellaris and Elden Ring.
But anyway, yeah, I took a break from Elden
Ring.
Ring and played a bit of Stellaris. There's nothing really great and new about Stellaris. It's
You heard it here first, folks.
It's still the same. It's still the same thing, except like they have other like events that can happen and things like that they would have been. The thing is, there's things that I find that I think is new.
Yeah.
And then I'll find out it was added like last year in a DLC. You know? So there's that kind of stuff. But I also downloaded just today a early access game. And it's called War Tales. And
Blake, don't hang on. Don't even start talking about the game yet. Do you just not like fun? Is it? Do you just want to be frustrated when you're playing something? Do you want to struggle against bugs and low content and like wait? Do you love waiting and like being disappointed a year and a half later when the thing is meant to come out and it doesn't?
How frequently do you actually post feedback on the?
I never do.
Yeah. So then again, what is the point of this? Why do you do this to yourself?
It looks done enough. Like you played Bannerlords, and that was like early access.
I play Bannerlords because I know Mountain Blade is fantastic.
Yeah.
And like I want to support those guys specifically.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that I'm going to enjoy that game.
Yeah.
And when it does come out, I'll probably play it again. Like this is.
Will you though?
Yeah, probably. I had a really good time with the early access.
Yeah.
I put like 80 plus hours into that. I think.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking about that the other day, because like this new game I bought is similar.
Is it as complete as Bannerlords?
I do not know yet, because I've only played like 2 hours of it, maybe. It looks nice.
Okay.
It looks real nice.
God damn it, Blake.
It reminds me. So the thing is, it reminds me a lot of Bannerlords. So you start off. You're a band of basically mercenaries.
Yep.
And you roam around a map just like in Bannerlords.
Yep.
Getting into fights, and also there's like quests and NPCs that you can talk to, and like
You're describing every game so far.
yeah, okay.
Is it like top down or is it
so it's like
first person?
It's like the
Is there an overworld, then you go into a battle screen kind of thing?
yes.
Okay, so it's
like Bannerlords. It's like
Bannerlords.
Bannerlords, but the battles are not real time, so they're not those like massive battles. They're turn-based tactical.
Oh no, that's way worse.
It's great,
No.
and it's more for this is more of a smaller scale. I think of it as more of a smaller scale Bannerlords, where Bannerlords you can get these giant armies, right? This is a more personal one where it's like you've got your troop of guys and you're kitting them all out with gear and stuff like that.
It's medieval XCOM.
Yeah, it is like medieval XCOM, and XCOM's a great game.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
But it's a great game when it's released. I don't want to play the XCOM beta.
But dude, this came out a few months ago, maybe even a year ago, and I'm like, it's been on my like wish list for ages. Like I've got so many early access games on my wish list that I check in every once in a while and be like, oh man, it's still early access. And this time I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna get it.
Okay. Well, you know what?
I'll have to tell you more next time if it was actually worth it.
You bought the game I'm working on, so
I did.
Can't be too
I know. Early access games.
You didn't play much of it though.
What are you talking about? I played heaps of it.
Did you?
Well, I think I did.
We haven't discussed it much.
No, I mean it's up to you. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not since you work on it. Maybe it's all like NDA or something that you don't want to say too much. Do people know this? Do the listeners know where you're working now?
I don't know.
Won't we?
Okay, sure. I work at for a developer called Playside, based in Melbourne. Mostly did mobile titles, but recently put out a game called that's in early access.
Yeah.
It's called Age of Darkness, which is a survival RTS, and I'm working on that.
Yeah,
I started the start of this year, and
New Hero was released not too long ago.
Yep, Vizargo.
Yep,
and there's just a ton of stuff coming down the pipe.
It's cool.
Some very exciting stuff that I can't talk about.
Yeah, I really like it. Your game.
The music by Camille.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I think I have mentioned this before, but yeah, he does good music. Paul, what have you been playing?
So it came out like last Friday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Revita or Revita, like Revital, but without the L.
Okay.
It's a roguelite platformer shooting game, I guess.
Okay.
With like, did you ever play like Into the Gungeon?
No, but I know about it.
So it's kind of similar to that, but a platformer.
Is that
kind
the
of
one
similar
where there's a gun that shoots guns?
That's Into the Gungeon.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's a great game too.
Yeah.
But this is, you just go through room after room, and a bunch of enemies will spawn. You got to kill them all. You got to get to the end of the tower.
Mm-hmm. Is it top?
It's a platformer.
Okay, so side scroller.
Yep.
Nice.
Except you don't do much like side scrolling because it's just rooms that spawn.
Right.
And the enemies will spawn. You've got to like gauge
you're just in the room
kinda...
until the enemies are dead, and then you move on.
Yeah. Because you just go through like these elevators through room to room.
Oh, okay.
Right. Cool. Structurally more like Binding of Isaac.
Then. Yeah, that's what a friend of mine said.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good.
What makes it so good? What sets this apart?
They have like absolutely nailed the risk versus reward thing.
Okay.
Because you get these relics, which will modify your weapon or modify your health or your armor or something in some way. But to buy any of them, you've got to pay in health.
Right. Yeah.
And when you get through to the end of the level, you go into like this subway kind of thing, and there's a dude in it that'll upgrade them in exchange for maximum health.
Oh.
So the whole time you're just juggling like whether you've got enough damage, enough survivability.
Yeah.
And it is really, really
upgrades?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can recover some of what you're basically health is your main currency.
Yeah, there's one other one as well, which is keys, which you use to open doors.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates like this other interesting thing where you know you're going to go through this door and it will cost you a key, which
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of,
Yeah.
to pay health, which you might not have a lot of.
Yeah.
But you've got to pay that key to find out whether you want to even pay
Right.
the health in the first
Yeah.
place. And it is just like,
Have you played The Binding of Isaac?
no, I just haven't gone and played it.
Yeah.
but-
I think you'd enjoy it just based
Yeah.
on what you're describing because they have similar mechanics. There are mechanics that cost health and mechanics that cost max health
yeah.
and keys that hide what's on the other side of a door, so you don't really know. What you're gonna
Yeah,
be
this sounds
faced with.
very similar.
Yeah.
But the gameplay in this is a lot more like Into the Gungeon.
Yeah,
where-
which sounds more fun to me than Binding of Isaac.
yeah.
I played quite a bit of Binding of Isaac, but the gameplay it was never the game for the gameplay. The gameplay
Yeah.
itself is pretty simplistic.
You would probably like this then. It is. I've picked it up and sort of immediately knew that I liked it.
Wow.
It's like that sort of 8-bit style and
Revite.
just charming.
Okay.
Where did you hear about it? Because I've never heard about this.
Popped up on YouTube. I just get like this one guy that I watched one YouTube video of, and he just keeps popping up with like some random game I haven't heard of.
Who's this guy? Shout out to this guy.
Who I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe
It's the same person that I saw playing Super Auto Pets.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow.
Interesting.
Are you subscribed to him?
No, he just keeps popping up and recommended. But I did watch
Maybe
him.
you should. He's 2 for 2.
I did watch him playing something else earlier today too, which was Backpack Hero.
Backpack.
I haven't played it yet,
Backpack
but
Hero. Have
It
I
sounds
heard of that?
familiar.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
so it's an inventory management roguelike,
Interesting.
and like
Sounds
all
hilarious.
all of the items will have some mechanic where you might have like a chest armor, and it'll be like adjacent things.
Yeah.
We'll get like +1 block or something. I haven't actually played it yet. I watched like literally before I came here. It just popped up on YouTube and I watched
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
So is it that you're managing an inventory and then like separately there's a screen of things playing out?
So you will go. It's got like a maze.
Yeah.
You got to go. You'll like pick a room. You have to do a battle. You'll get rewards.
Yeah.
The rewards you've got to try and fit into your inventory to plan
Gotcha.
for the next thing. The combat was
Yeah.
all turn based.
But are you in control of the combat?
Yes,
Okay.
but turn based, and you just sort of click things in your inventory to get them to happen.
Gotcha. Because I played Loop Hero. Have you played Loop Hero?
No.
I've discussed it on the podcast previously, but it is how best to describe this? It has some roguelite elements, but a level is a track, and your hero sort of makes its way around the track, and there are elements that appear that start on the track, and you place more elements around the track.
Oh, interesting.
And the elements usually make the track more difficult. Like, for example, you'll put like forest, and it means that like if every so often monsters will spawn from that forest and start roaming the track, and your
Yep.
guy will fight the monsters and get experience and items, and get stronger. So you're weighing up making the track more difficult, so your guy gets stronger because eventually you'll have to fight a boss, versus just making sure that your guy doesn't get killed.
Yeah.
And certain combinations of adjacencies will cause like these track tiles to transform, and so you're sort of planning ahead about where you're going to place things. But some of these elements are randomized, so you don't really know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And there's weightings for things, and
That sounds pretty cool as
there's
well.
loot. It's pretty simplistic, but the complexity ramps up over time. And you unlock more cards, and it's like a little village building sim in between levels as well. But that's not as complicated as it sounds. You're collecting resources the entire time, basically.
Yeah.
But that's what it kind of reminds me of by the sounds of things. Insofar as the action is kind of detached from what you're doing is kind of detached from directly the action a little bit. Although yours is more direct. You control combat. You control movement. Everything in Loop Hero is kind of automated in that sense.
Yeah. See, this was like, you also don't know what you're about to fight when you're doing all the inventory management
Right,
stuff. That was
okay.
the juggling, trying to manage the rewards you got from the previous fight.
Yeah.
before you go on to the next one. And
Interesting. But it's interesting that you don't know what you're going to face, because how are you playing around that, I guess?
yeah, so from what I've seen, you've got to go pretty...
Conservative?
Yeah.
Interesting. And this is this one you want to pick up? Or is this something you
I
just
don't
thought
know.
was interesting?
It did look like a lot of time spent sort of reading the items and stuff. And I kind of do prefer the ones that are more action.
Yeah. Like Revita.
Yeah. That is very much like roam spawns. You kill all the things. And
How many hours would you say you've put into Revita so far?
maybe like 15 across last weekend and this weekend.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I played it like
For as
a
adults.
lot last weekend.
Yeah, that is a solid amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I even started playing it on Switch. Hurt my thumb. I was like,
no.
oh shit, I can't play this
Yeah.
game anymore. And ended up buying it on PC and starting over
Oh, wow.
just because like
Oh,
I wanted to
wow.
play it.
Yeah. For listeners, Paul has an arm brace on.
It's just a wrist.
He's badly crippled.
He's got
His whole arm
he's
is
got
is
Nintendo
turned
thumb.
purple.
Yeah, it is definitely
do have
partially
Nintendo.
Nintendo thumb. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nintendo thumb. Yeah, you get a sore thumb from. Well, really, it's just like any console. But back in the day, it was. I'm pretty sure it's called Nintendo thumb.
I don't think this is an official term, but back in the day, my friend used to get Mario Party palm.
Oh, why? It's because he's like he's palming the control.
joystick
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
Nintendo 64,
Yep.
and it would tear,
I used to-
literally tear the skin off his palm.
I used to do
Oh,
that
that's
as well
horrible.
for like 1080 snowboarding. I used to get the like spins around. I had to like palm the
No, you
joystick
didn't.
around. Pretty sure you did. Well, there was some
There was
game.
definitely easier ways to do it.
Well,
maybe you could
not
do
when
it
I
that way.
was. I didn't know of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've definitely done that for games on Nintendo 64 though, for sure. And I'd have it'll be like one of those things where it's like I have my friends around for a weekend. And like we'll rent the Nintendo, we'll be playing that, and at the end of the weekend, I've got like basically a blister on the
Yeah.
palm of
Yep.
my hand from
Yep.
doing that.
It's a horrible place to have a blister.
I
as
know,
well.
it's terrible.
yeah, especially as a teenager, it causes some questions.
Well, I was not quite a teenager by that
Yeah.
point, so I wasn't even thinking about that.
Fair enough. It was always Mario Party in that case, or,
Yeah.
or I guess in your case, 1080.
1080. I'm sure it was 1080 snowboarding. I was doing that.
That was a fun game.
That was
Did,
great.
did they ever make a sequel?
No.
They had I remember they had like a Metal Man that you could unlock in that game.
Yeah.
Real weird.
I really like that game.
Yeah, I mean Nintendo, that whole era of Nintendo sports games. Wave Race, another
Yep.
good one.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a huge endorsement for this game that you bought it twice.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you crippled yourself playing it
Yeah.
the
The
first
first
time.
Yeah.
It wasn't entirely just the playing it that messed my thumb up, to be fair, but it definitely started the problem.
Yeah. Wow.
And you doubled down.
Yeah. But it is like, how much was it? It was like $30 maybe, if that.
Mm.
And that's New Zealand.
Yep.
Mm.
And it's just really well made. There's lots of little secrets and stuff, and you start unlocking more secrets the further you get through it, because that's the roguelike side
Yeah.
of it.
Is there a story?
Yeah.
Is it a like roguelikes tend to kind of go either very hard on the story in the form of like Hades, where it's like the game functionally is about the story
Yeah.
and about unlocking all these story elements, or very light on the story, where it's just like, here's a story framework.
I'd say it's definitely lighter, but
Mm.
the thing is, like, I kind of skip a bunch of the story stuff anyway. But
Real pro
the
gamer
bosses are called like anger and depression.
Oh,
and
wow.
Uh-huh.
So like you're this guy going through, you ride the subway through, and then you go through these levels, and then you
Yeah.
ride the subway, and like each boss is like
An
one of the
emotion.
like I think they're based off the phases of grief or something.
Okay.
I don't know
Bargaining in
exactly.
there somewhere.
Yep, bargaining's one of
yeah,
them.
that does sound like
Acceptance. Interesting.
That's the last one,
Well,
right?
yeah.
That's the
Very
big
last
boss. You got to beat acceptance.
Yeah, and there's literally like the last boss. Sorry for spoilers for anyone, but
Cool.
I mean they're just boss names.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
If I hadn't just bought a game myself, I'd probably look at buying this immediately, but I'll put it on the wish list. I have been playing 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is was it Super Auto Pets? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So Paul had talked about this last podcast. I was intrigued. I was mostly curious to see if it was like the kind of game I thought it was going to be. And
Was
it? Is.
it? Yeah.
Yes. It's like it's an auto battler. So the sort of core mechanics of an auto battler are between rounds you're drafting a team, and then the rounds themselves play out, and the things that matter are your team composition and their arrangement.
Yep.
And this is like probably the most simplified version of that I've seen, which is not to say that it's bad, because making something like that simplified is really difficult, and they've done a really good job. If you've played the Hearthstone equivalent, it's similar in arrangement, except things don't. It's in Super Auto Pets.
The name is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Triple.
The two front pets are always the ones fighting, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in the Hearthstone equivalent, I think it just sequentially goes through each player's cards, and then we'll loop back around if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah.
So there's kind of they've taken away a layer of complexity for Super Auto Pets. And as a result, have like had to figure out how to put complexity elsewhere. And the way they've done that is through making the fact that they're basically single file one of the core mechanics, and making things target positions in lines or trigger in front or behind.
Yeah,
and it's fascinating. So I really enjoyed it. I managed to get a 10-win streak with, I think it was a like a food build.
What? That sounds insane to someone who has no idea what this game is.
So basically, like a lot of these games, they kind of have some pre-built like mechanics that you should pursue. So one of them is like a pain mechanic, where it's like every time a pet takes damage, it'll trigger an effect.
Okay.
For example, one of them, I think the elephant, whenever it takes damage, it deals damage behind it, or maybe it was whenever
it attacks, it deals damage behind it.
And the blowfish, whenever it takes damage, pufferfish, whatever.
Pufferfish.
Whenever it takes damage, it will deal 2 damage to a random enemy. And so you put your elephant in front of your pufferfish. Whenever the elephant attacks, it deals damage to the pufferfish, and the pufferfish deals damage to an enemy.
Oh, yep.
And you can put a kangaroo there. I think maybe it's not a kangaroo. There's an animal that when it takes damage buffs the creature behind it.
Camel.
It might be a camel.
Camel, yeah.
So like that's a build you can pursue. It's like intentionally causing damage to, or allowing your allies to take damage.
There's a hilarious variation of that where you have like a bunch of hedgehogs that when they die deal 2 damage to everything.
Yeah.
And if you've got a few of them, they'll kill each other.
Yeah.
And then you just have like one pufferfish and one camel, and the camel just keeps buffing the pufferfish.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So but the build that I went on is there's a separate mechanic, which is something that the Hearthstone equivalent doesn't have, which is in Hearthstone you're always buying cards basically, and you can re-roll which cards are available to you. In this, you're buying pets, but if you don't want to buy any of the pets, you can also buy food, and the food costs the same as a pet, but it's like a buff.
Yep.
And it buffs one of the pets on the board.
All right, I'm just gonna close the window behind me.
Okay. So the food build is all about pets that trigger when they are fed, basically. Yeah. And so some of them will get extra buffs, or some of them will buff other pets that are fed, and some of them will just like increase the effects of the food. And so I just basically made a team that was like all about getting fed, and just started feeding.
It's so on brand as well.
What are you saying?
You love food. You've admitted it. It's on
Are
recording.
you calling me fat?
No, I'm saying you love food.
Yeah, I do love food.
I have
Also,
multiple recordings.
I'm pretty
of
chubby
you.
now. I do. I love
We
food.
did 2 food podcasts.
I think we might have done 3.
3? Holy hell.
We should do more.
We should do more.
lunch, eat flavor.
Mhm.
Google it,
Mhm.
and then let us know what you find because I haven't Googled it.
Yeah.
Anyway, really enjoyed it. I haven't bought any of I haven't bought the bonus pack of creatures yet. It's in beta right now, isn't it?
The bonus one?
The whole game, as far as I could tell.
I don't know. I just saw it. I just looked for it in the Play Store. And
Yeah.
bought it, and no, you got the free version first. I did end up buying the
But then you stopped using it.
I did play the expansion for a little bit.
Yeah, and then you
But
went back
the
to the
thing
base
is,
mechanics.
like, I already put like 20 hours probably into that game. Like,
Yeah.
they should have money for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's fair enough. So I might play it a little bit more, but I was just keen to check it out. Fun little game. The other one I just bought, Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe
Oh yeah.
Edition, which if you haven't played the Stanley Parable, then the less said the better. Really,
Yeah.
you absolutely should go and try it.
Yeah.
You should, I think, even if you have played the Stanley Parable, you should absolutely get Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Edition. It's fantastic, and also the less said about it, the better.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Like I've not played it. I've heard about it from you on this podcast.
Stanley Parable.
Yep. We talked
You
about
have,
it.
You haven't played
I've
it.
never played it.
Get the Ultra Deluxe Edition.
Yeah. Oh, I saw it the other night and was like, oh, I should
get
this.
it, and then you didn't get it.
I
So you
didn't get
got-
it, but only because I was like, oh, has it got VR? Because I think that would be cool in VR.
And does it?
No, it doesn't seem to.
Do you
Then
have
So
VR?
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
just get it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just get it.
Just get it right now.
Yeah.
Stop the podcast. Get it.
I was just looking for something that I was like desperate to play on a VR. Like
Yep.
justify
Yeah.
my purchase.
I'm very curious what that first player experience
Yep.
for Stanley Parable is, because one of the things they ask you at the start of the game is, have you played the Stanley Parable?
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow,
And
okay.
I think what that does is slightly accelerate you to the new content.
Yep.
So I'm curious how soon they
Mm.
funnel you to that new content if you
All
just
right.
like
Yeah.
haven't played Stanley Parable.
Actually, yeah, I will play this, and then maybe we can have a spoiler
Spoiler
podcast
cast?
next week,
Yeah.
and I can talk about it, and you can tell me what the new stuff is because I
It's
wouldn't know.
it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I will spoil this. There's a door that says new content.
All right. Well, that's pretty obvious then.
Paul, do you reckon this is something you'd want to pick up? It's on the Switch.
Maybe. I'm quite caught up with Revita. at the
Yeah,
moment.
that's
Also,
fair.
Paul cannot use the Switch right now, so
Yeah.
This is
So
true.
that's
It's
not a
also on
selling point.
PC. It's also on PC. The only reason I mention it is because I'd love to have a big conversation. If we're doing a spoiler cast
Yeah.
about Stanley Parable.
we should do it. Yeah, I'll get it.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
could probably get
You
it.
may just have to plug your ears that entire podcast, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
It's really good. There's it takes some fantastic, interesting directions.
right.
I can't say too much about it.
Yeah.
Buckets of
It's
content.
great. It came out. When did it come out? Was it almost 10 years ago?
2013, I believe.
It is
Yeah.
almost 10 years
Yeah.
ago. That's insane.
Yeah. They also clever bastards. So they the whole game is about employee 427,
Yeah.
Stanley. And then they launched it on 27th of April. 4/27.
Yeah.
Ugh, clever bastards.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoying it.
So has there been any other updates to that between like 2013 and now?
No.
So they've just been slowly chipping away at this thing in the background. That's a bunch of new content.
So that I think the studio, or at least the writer, they've made other games in the meantime.
Okay.
And I'm not fully sure of the background as to why they went and did deluxe edition, but they kind of cover part of that within the game. It's,
Oh my god.
it's a very interesting game. And I think even especially as game developers, all three of us are game developers. There are definitely elements of this you will look at and go, "Wow."
Wow, okay. This is
Um,
great. I'm keen for this.
yeah. I really don't want to say anything that'll spoil it, and which makes it very hard to discuss.
Oh well, we're just gonna have to do a spoiler cast next time. That's it.
Yep.
That's what we'll do.
I'm excited.
Yep.
I've only played it a little bit of it as well. Like
Oh really?
I mean, I've played probably an hour or two.
Okay.
It's not like this is not a game you're going to sink hundreds of hours into.
I get it. Yeah.
It's a story-driven game.
Yeah. I like those smaller games. Like, remember when we all played Firewatch?
Yeah,
I thought that was good. It was like a 4 or 5 hour game.
Yeah,
and
this is closer to Firewatch than
That's
like
cool. Yeah.
a bad early access game that you're gonna normally play.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
We don't know if that's bad
that
yet.
Is it Warrior Tales? War Tales?
War Tales.
Yeah, I'm
It
not
looks
saying
good.
I'm not saying War Tales is bad.
I think it's gonna be good.
I'm just saying that.
The last early access game I played was good.
What was that?
Age of Darkness.
Well, thanks, Blake. What about before that?
I don't remember. I went off them after your criticism, and I've
said you went off them, but I'm pretty sure after you said you went off them, you bought like 3 more.
Yeah,
like,
but that's me restraining myself.
That's so silly. It's so silly. Hey, Blake, did you know games come out sometimes?
No, some early access games don't.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is you can go and you can buy a complete game, like a game that the developers have said,
Yeah,
we're done with this. Here you go.
There's games I put on my wish. There's early access games I put on my wish list like 4 or 5 years ago, and they're still not out.
God, Blake.
Yeah.
Name one. Name and shame time. Let's do
Name
it.
and shame. There's this one. I don't remember the name of it, but it's it's about it's a city builder, but all the denizens are like little pig guys.
Minecraft?
No, and I was like, that looks pretty neat. That looks like a funny little neat game. It's still not
out. You started playing. There was there's so many early access games that you've played over the years. There's like a survival game with ships. You started playing it after the Funcom survival game.
It was called Atlas. And it was the jankiest piece of jank I'd ever played. And that was out on the recommendation of somebody else who
was playing
the entire time we were playing Conan, and anytime we played Sea of Thieves, he was always saying, Atlas is so much better. You can do so much more stuff in Atlas. And it's like, yes, technically you can, but it's incredibly janky. It's insanely janky. That's the one where we were sitting on the beach trying to build a boat, and Noah's Ark pulled up. Because this giant boat, this player with a giant boat pulled up, and he had all these animals in it. And there was a giraffe as well. Like, there's a giraffe's head was
kind
like
of
sticking out of it.
amazing.
Yeah, and then he hops on his giraffe and rides over to us. And we're like, what the hell?
Said flood's coming.
Yeah.
Well, play better games, Blake.
Yeah, I'll
Play Stanley Parable.
I'll play Stanley Parable.
I bought. Did I tell you I bought Civ 6 on phone?
No, what?
Yeah.
Holy heck!
Did you know that Civ 6 is on phone?
No.
Yeah, you can buy Civ 6 on your phone for like $8.
Wait, is Civ 6? Which one's the latest one?
6.
Is it 6?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's
That's
the one.
crazy.
You should know because you spent, I think, 1,000 turns doing nothing in it.
What do you mean?
You turned off. We turned off win conditions.
Oh yeah. I'm not doing nothing. I'm doing stuff. I'm doing something. It's because I like. Oh man, I don't want to get into like, that whole like thing again.
Paul, what do you think about win conditions in games? Necessary or unnecessary?
It depends on the game. I think for the most part necessary.
What about specifically in a civilization game?
Probably necessary.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if it's just like a notification that you've effectively won the game.
Yeah. And you know what makes it especially annoying? What Blake's weird habit here is you, even with win conditions turned on, you can keep playing when someone's won.
Yeah, you just turn them off anyway.
I just turn them all off anyway.
So it's just not all. It's just completely taken out.
They exist, right? It's just you don't get the pop up that basically says.
So you just don't want to know that you're done.
Yeah. I just want to keep going until I feel I'm done. I am the one that will say when I'm done.
Can you lose?
Yeah,
but only if you're conquered.
Yeah.
So what happened? And if you conquer everybody else,
the game just keeps going.
Really?
Yeah, it would. Probably. I've never done that.
That's when you start your succession and
yeah.
Right.
Well, there's also like the main win condition, or I guess like for these kind of games, maybe these civilization building games and like Crusader Kings, the win condition I actually don't like the most is just the time runs out.
Okay.
You know.
Sure.
So it definitely
increasing turn limits. Sure, I get that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get that.
and like Crusader Kings has like a limit of like it's between, I don't know, I think it's like 1,000 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But part of me is like, oh man, what if I want to go longer?
Now I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Stellaris.
Here's an interesting thing. So in Stellaris, you can like jack up the time when the
crisis happens.
The crisis happens, yeah. So basically, you can have like a jack up the time to the end game, before the end game thing starts, and then you can jack up the time to like the mid game crisis, and you jack up the time to like the end game crisis. I tried once where I just put all those to max.
Yeah.
I'd played for like 2, maybe 3 weeks, and I hadn't gotten to the end game crisis yet, and I was like, this was definitely a mistake. And I looked at like what time I'd set, and I was still hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years away from the end game crisis.
And this is before you decided Civ 6. Let's turn off all the.
No, this was after.
Okay.
Yeah.
You hadn't learned your lesson.
Civ 6. The main thing, like we talked about this, like the main thing I actually don't like about civilization games is when they show you your ranking, and how far you are away from like any one of these win conditions. So if you like, you'll see like the religious win condition, and you'll see which civilization is
winning
to it. I don't like that. And I did have a mod where those just got hidden completely, and so it's completely fine then. Yeah, like I don't mind having those win conditions as long as I can't see them.
Yeah. It wasn't that they were being shown to you all the time. It's you were looking for them.
Well, they're there. They're there.
Yeah.
There's a button.
It's a willpower issue here. Now this is on phone. They have the same thing where you can click and you can see.
Yeah.
What I found interesting about Civ 6 is win conditions. They're not. The progress is not linear.
Yeah.
It's for almost everything. It's weighted against every other faction. So it's like, if you want to win a cultural victory, you have to have so many more tourists than like so many more international tourists than your enemies have domestic tourists.
Yeah.
So even when you're looking at that win condition screen, you don't actually know.
Well, don't show it. Just don't have it. I don't like it.
So do you not like it because then you start working towards those, or
it makes me go,
oh,
I need to work towards that, and then I'll see another win condition that's like technology or something, and I'll be like, oh, I need to work towards that. It makes me feel like I have to be number one in all of them.
Yep.
You just got to be number one in one of them.
I know, but I feel like I have to be number one in all of them.
By the way, it turns out I couldn't be number one in any of them. Turns out I'm not good at Civ 6, at least at the default difficulty.
Did we ever talk about what's that new game? Humankind. Did we ever talk about that game?
No.
It's made by the endless space guys.
I'm not sure I know what Endless Space is.
Endless Space, Endless Legend.
Oh, is that the Endless Legend? Is the Fantasy 4X?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So this is basically their take on Civilization. Like it's a human based one.
It's very interesting to me that they've gone from the Fantasy Civ to then they went to Space Civ, and then they went Civ.
Yeah. Wait a minute, Civ.
Okay. Did you play it?
Yeah. I played it quite a bit. It's really very interesting the way they've set up their civilizations.
Mm-hmm.
So in like regular civilization, you pick the I think we did talk about this because I was like Nebuchadnezzar or something like that, and like I think we did.
It's very possible.
Yeah. But anyway,
149 episodes. We've talked about a lot of stuff.
Anyway, I played through heaps of it, and like the way you build up your civilization is that like you eventually get to a point where you basically upgrade your civilization to the next sort of phase.
Yeah.
And then you're presented with a whole bunch of real world civilizations that you can then choose to become.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you also keep the benefits from the past civilization.
Right.
So you sort of like end up with this like
an amalgam civilization.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
it's really like your own kind of thing.
I played this is 2006 maybe, maybe even before that. It was a game called Empire's Dawn of the Modern World.
Oh yeah.
Which was an RTS.
Yeah.
And it was sort of Age of Empires.
Yep.
Esque, except you would start off as like sort of a prehistory civilization, and then you would hit the modern era, and you would make a choice about who you were from that point on.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you could start off as China.
Yeah.
But I don't think China had a modern era equivalent, because the modern era was specifically World War I and World War II.
Oh right, yeah, yeah.
And so you would choose either like Germany or Korea. No, maybe
Japan.
I don't even think Japan.
You start off as China and then become Japan.
I don't think you become Japan. I don't remember if Japan was even one of the factors.
Huh.
But it was like maybe it was U.S. or something.
Yeah.
Like that. But so I always thought that was kind of interesting, that sort of branch of cultures. Sounds like they've kind of done that, but you carry through those original.
Yeah, it's really cool, and you can choose to stick with your original culture as well, and you just get like some bonuses and stuff.
Yeah.
But like it's very it seems much better to then just like pick one of the other civilizations when you upgrade, and like each of those other civilizations are sort of more geared towards different different stats. Like, you know, one is like Romans are very militaristic.
Yep.
And there'll be another faction that's like heavy on technology or something. So if your past civilization that you originally picked was also heavy on technology, you could then pick the next civilization that is also heavy on so you
Double
can
down.
follow that path instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are like changing civilizations as you go, and you sort of become. Eventually, you're presented with modern countries like Great Britain, America, like all that. So that's what you end up as. But they've all got this like history of like all these other like civilizations like below them.
Right.
It's really cool. I really like it.
Civ 6 has something kind of similar, but maybe it's more surface level. But you choose your type of government.
Right.
And the more turns you stay as a type of government, you're building up a sort of persistent passive effect that when you change your government, that passive effect lingers.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can just stick with one type of government and build up this passive effect.
Oh, cool.
Over time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that I guess there's two developers attacking the same idea in different ways, but kind of coming to a similar results, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. And it's cool. I really like it. I haven't played it in a while because like I felt like they released it and I played it heaps. I think it must have been it was during lockdown. Because I remember I sent you an image of like a plague had one events pop up while you're playing. Just like in Stellaris or whatever stuff will pop up.
This sounds familiar.
A thing popped up where it's like a plague has broken out in one of your cities. What do you want to do? And one of them is like just leave it alone, and the other one is like lock down the city.
What did you do?
Actually, I tried both because like first I did the lockdown, and I was like, minimizes it, and eventually like goes away. And then the second I played through it a second time, and that same thing came up, and I was like, let it run. And it just spread to some other cities.
No way!
Yeah, I know, crazy. And it got worse and worse, but eventually it did like peter out. But
so you're the cause.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much out of time.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions that I think are good up the top.
Yeah. Well, we read one of these last week.
Did we?
Pretty
No,
sure.
no.
From WikiWig.
That's a follow up.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, this is from Tabs, saying, "Glad you're back so soon. Auto Pets is super good fun. Vampire Survivors is basically Path of Exile Auto Bomber Simulator. Also a good time." Another example of a PoE-inspired game is Nova Drift. Mark Neon Spider, Mark II, has commented on it on Reddit a few years back, saying how much he enjoyed it. The developer was quite upfront about it. Top-down asteroid-style game with tons of builds. It's well worth a play. That sounds cool.
That does sound cool.
I looked up. I saw that message and I looked it up on YouTube, and one of the first things I saw was like Ziggy D doing a video of it, saying like this is the Path of Exile of
shooters.
Yeah.
WikiWig says, "Thanks for the cast. Great fun. There's a lot of games with Path of Exile influence, some more delicate than others. There's at least one Headhunter reference in Risk of Rain 1 and 2, I think. It kind of does not count, but just the other day, a dude made a custom programming language to simulate crafting in Path of Exile, so there's that. I bet there's more. I'll post it once it comes to mind." Carl friend of the podcast,
Oh,
and
yeah.
an ex-PoE dev,
Yep.
has actually sent me a bunch of references from other games. There was one in Borderlands 2, I think, or maybe
Really?
Borderlands 3. Yeah. It was Tabula Rasa one.
Yeah.
Risk of Rain, he sent me one. There was a few others. I'm now. He's gonna kill me.
You could have written them down. We could have read them out.
You know what? Fill the time. I'll
right.
try and find them.
All right.
Yeah, because this is kind of cool. Like, I do want to know.
I was honestly pretty stoked to see some of the ones that popped up.
Tabula Rasa is like an actual thing, though, too, right?
Tabula Rasa
It's
in
like
me is Latin for blank slate, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so Risk of Rain was the Headhunter one. There's mechanics that are heavily inspired by PoE. So there's one called Transcendence. I'm not sure which game this is, but it is Chaos Inoculation.
Okay.
You know, where you set your health to 1 and you get a bunch of energy shield and you get immune to a thing. So there's basically that, which is convert all health convert all but 1 health into regenerating shields, gain 50% maximum health.
What game's that?
I'm not sure, but it is basically Chaos Inoculation. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is the one. There's
okay.
Blank Slate is a legendary, which it requires at least 1,500 clicks, and it is Crangled, which is
it's corrupted. What is
it's Crangled. Crangled is a reference to Corrupted from our subreddit.
Yeah.
What?
From the PoE subreddit?
I didn't know that.
Someone made a joke about it was like, what does PoE look like in 10 years or whatever? And one of the things was like, this item is Crangled or something. And
oh my God, that's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah, really, really great reference.
Because Ultimatum had like a bunch of Crangled references.
Wow.
Ultimatum.
Yeah, the League redid.
Okay.
Because that was all corrupting stuff.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. Somebody did write in about Tiny Tina references. I think I didn't put it on there, but they did mention that there was a few of them in Tiny Tina.
This one, I'm not sure which game this is, but it's there's an item called Boots of the Vol Undersoul.
Oh, what?
Which says +10 to hit and run tactics for when the boss is just too strong.
Huh? Oh my God.
So there's there was a few that he had sent me, which I loved. So
it's crazy, dude. It's so crazy that
to see like the cultural influence of PoE elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, it's we worked in this little office and
I know, right?
In tiny New Zealand, and you kind of forget how big PoE is and how big the audience is and how long it's been around. So of course there's cultural references to it, but it's easy to forget that.
I know. I still think it was just like some little indie game, and then we do a thing like ExileCon, and I'm like, oh my God,
yeah, people are coming
That was
internationally.
crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, those were lovely comments. Keep those references coming. I want to see more if there's any more. That's really, really fun to see. We'll be back hopefully in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Blake.
All right.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening. You can email friendseatquestions@gmail.com if you've got references, or you can just say Blake why. Just a classic.
Well, I did just buy a new early access.
Perfect.
So,
subject line should say Blake, why do you do this to yourself?
You can also send the same one like several times.
Yes. It's actually, the more times you send it, the better. I think it says that's how we set up the email account, right?
Yeah.
The more the better?
Yeah. More
Perfect.
better. Yeah.
And we'll be back in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening, guys. Love you. Bye.
Are you experiencing things through her eyes?
Oh, absolutely.
It must be great.
Yeah. I mean, do you think I, as an adult, I'm going to stand outside and blow bubbles for 10 minutes of my own accord?
Nah. But if you see some bubbles, you might be like, wow, look at them bubbles.
No, because I'm an adult. But now that I have a baby...
Now you have an excuse.
Now that I have a baby, when I do it and it's through her eyes, it's like when I'm watching how much she's enjoying it. It's fun.
Yeah.
So
there was a store at the top of Queen Street at the intersection of K Road that every once in a while we'll just have a bubble machine. And the bubbles would like float really far down like Queen Street, and I'll just be walking up there and be like, "What? There's like a bubble." And then as I get closer, there's just like more and more bubbles.
Nice.
And it's like,
And
I was like, "Wow,
Baba, Baba."
How fucking great would it be if adults did that? Like reacted in the same way. Just, like, you see this bubble floating down, and then just the entire street just sort of bubbles, and they'll start running.
Well, you know how we can act like that? It's just get totally drunk.
Yeah.
Babies are just drunk little humans.
Have you seen those videos of like they've set up, bars and little mini bars and put a bunch of toddlers in there?
No,
and they are just drunk adults.
It's true.
It's amazing.
I made the same observation not long after she was born. It's just everything. I feel like age is just sobering up in really slow motion.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Teenagers' years are like the real hangover.
Yeah.
I reckon I'm in the hangover.
You reckon you're in the hangover years now?
Well, no, I think right now I'm gonna head into the 50s when you start aching everywhere and like. That's the hangover years.
No, that is definitely
You guys don't ache everywhere.
Teenage years are when you're tipsy and you're like you're either feeling extra self-conscious or extra confident.
Yeah, actually, you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're onto something. Write a paper about this.
An academic paper.
Paper.
Cite sources. I have a baby.
There it is.
And I'm being drunk.
Cite my source right there.
Go outside, nerd.
Man, I found out a new saying for like "go outside, nerd" recently.
Okay.
Touch grass.
That's pretty good.
You guys heard that?